Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Developing a Proper Worldview. This is episode number 103, and we're in section 6, the New World Order. As always, if you're new to the channel or you just happen to be catching this randomly, these videos are done in a purposeful order, hence the title, Developing a Proper Worldview. So it's important that you watch these in that order. So if you haven't, please stop the video, go back and watch from the beginning. So let's see. I think last time I said we were gonna do New World Order Blueprint of Mad Men, and I misremembered what that was. I was thinking it was a different DVD because I just put it into my computer here and pulled it up, and it's actually just a really short. It's only like 40 minutes, and it's a Jones production. It's from what I could see. I just went through it briefly, like just a couple seconds scanning through it to see what it was about. To trigger my memory. I do remember a little bit of it. I remember watching it. I've only watched it once, but obviously I thought it was good enough to include here. Like I say, it's really short. It's more. It's not necessarily a documentary. It's more of I guess a report, but a report on the New World Order, I think. So he starts. It's like a little skit based on what was going on in the government at the time. I don't remember when he put it out. I would guess it's probably 12, 15 years ago. But yeah, it's just a really short video, so we'll be able to do it in one part here. We'll get through it tonight, Lord willing. And yeah, hopefully it's good. Like I say, I don't remember. I remember the beginning part because I just pulled it up and was watching. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. But I don't really know what he discusses. Um, but based on the title, it's going to be good and it's going to be appropriate to the section that we're in here in section 6. Again, I really didn't know how to label these sections. The entire series could be, subtitled New World Order. It could be Developing a Proper Worldview, a biblical look at the New World Order. That could be like the subtitle of it. But, we laid out the gospel and the creation evolution debate and America's part in this, America's driving force behind this, 9/11, martial law, and now the overarching designs of this conspiracy, the order, the Novus Ordo Seclorum, as it says on the back of your dollar bill, underneath the pyramid. The new order of the ages. What is that? What are they trying to achieve? And that's kind of what this section is here. And then we got a couple more DVDs. I remember them being really good, and then we'll jump. One of them, I was just looking at it. I don't have on DVD, and you actually have to, like, I couldn't find a way to purchase the DVD other than purchasing the streaming version on their website. So I don't know how that's gonna work. We'll see how that goes. I think that would their fair use law, right, says that if I bought it, I paid for it. So and then I'm giving commentary on it, not editorial, like news reporting type educational commentary. So I think that allows for fair use, and so I'll be able to show it, I believe. I tried my hardest not to violate any sort of copyright laws. Like I bought physical copies of these DVDs where I could. Everyone that we've watched so far, so that I'm actually paying for it. We're not just streaming it on Google Videos or Rumble or YouTube. We're actually I've paid for the material, and then like I say, it's an educational thing. It's a tool for education, and reporting information. So I think that falls under fair use. In the few cases where I couldn't find a way to purchase the DVD, and I contacted the who I assume are the owners of wherever I found it streaming, YouTube or whatever. I think YouTube's the only one I've done. This and that, the one I'm talking about will be done on a different website, but I contacted them and asked for permission to burn their video onto a disc so I could have a permanent copy, and they gave permission. Um, I think there was one that I never heard back from, but we didn't watch that. Um, or it's something in the future, and I'll try again to get a hold of them before we do it. But I just wanted to make sure that there's no reason to take these videos down in the future. I hope these videos last. I mean, that's all the Lord's plan, but and His will and design. It's up to Him to decide what to do with these. But I think they're beneficial. I get a lot of joy out of it, and I feel like this is 20 years of my life researching and then doing this. So it's kind of like my life's work putting into this. I would hope that it would last, because we don't have a lot of viewers. I mean, there's just a handful of people that have probably watched through these on a regular basis, and those people are a great blessing to me. Just hearing a brief message, when they send it saying, they enjoy watching or whatever, it rejoices my heart. It's like, man, praise God. It's what a crazy technology that you can reach somebody across the world, or that we can help each other as Christians, edify the body, even though we're hundreds and maybe thousands of miles apart. It just rejoices me, and it's a big blessing to hear. Even without hearing, just seeing the views, even if it's only like 10, 12 views, it's like, man, that's 10, 12 people that watch this, that's amazing. And then, like I say, hopefully if the Lord allows, these will last for years, and who knows who's going to come across them in the future. That's the Lord's business, but it's my hope with these videos. So, anyways, I'm kind of rambling. Introduction. We've been talking about world events. Where are we right now? Is there anything applicable to New World Order? Trump's just in office here for what? When did he take office? Was it last week? The 21st? Has it only been a week? Yeah, I think it's only been a week, and he's making a lot of moves. And one thing that I was thinking about, though, is like, as good as these moves sound, as good as the things he's doing sound, they're done through executive orders. And like my thinking, and again, I don't understand the whole process of the legislative and executive connection and who has what power, but I always understood that laws have to come through Congress. So an executive order would seem to me as just a temporary thing, right? If the Democrats get into office in 4 years, can't they just reverse everything he's done through executive? He's just signing a piece of paper. It's not actually a law in Congress, so it can be undone. Didn't he just come in and undo a bunch of Biden stuff? So while people are rejoicing, it's like, I don't understand that. It's a temporary relief. It would almost seem to me guaranteed that if a Democrat gets into power next election or the election after that, they simply, with a swipe of a pen, undo everything. So whether that's the ICE raids, or the wall being built, or the tariffs on foreign countries, which are all good for the country of America, for our safety and our economic prosperity. Those are good things. But again, they're not laws, so there's really no permanence to them. It just seems to me like putting a Band-Aid on a bleeding artery. It's not a fix as far as undoing the system, undoing the New World Order system. And one of the things that I heard him talking about and I've heard him talk about it a couple times, is the income tax. And so, like, if you and I have a very limited a pea-brained understanding of the New World Order system. But essentially, from what I understand, the Knights Templars were a cult, Satanists, pretending to be Roman Catholics. Um, or maybe they're more real Roman Catholic than what we see in the institutions out on the streets here. But um, during the Crusades, they discovered Solomon's gold, Solomon's treasures, and established the first banking system, where they would loan money and charge usury. And from that kind of set in motion the foundation for the New World Order system, because later on, occultists, again, it's mystery Babylon. So they're getting inspiration from demonic forces. It's where they're getting their ideas. The Rothschilds took over the banking in England, establishing central banks, which essentially takes all the power from the government and transfers that power to the bankers. Because now the government has to go to the bankers to get money to do anything. So they're powerless. They have to rely on the bankers. That's why Thomas Jefferson warned about central banks. He said that like central banks are more dangerous than standing armies. And so that kind of, I think, was the start of the New World Order system. Well, the religious philosophy of the New World Order started with Gnosticism and Mystery Babylon even before that, all the way back to like Nimrod and the Tower of Babel. But the financial framework, the bureaucratic government aspect of it started with that banking system. I think it was a Rothschild or Rocco. I think it was one of the Rothschilds who said, give me control of the money and I don't care who makes the laws. Essentially saying we're the real power. We got the control of the money. And so in America, they tried to get central banking a couple times, I think. If my understanding is correct, I think Andrew Jackson stopped it from happening. And that was way back. What was Andrew Jackson, like the sixth president or something like that? The fifth president. So this would have been early 1800s. They tried to get central banking then, and he shut it down. And then I think during the Civil War they tried to get central banking again. So you had these foreign influencers. You had people like the Rothschilds trying to not only have control of Great Britain and the United Kingdom, but trying to get control of America too through that same system. Give us control of the money, and we'll control everything. But you had people who understood that. You had people who were like Jefferson would have been around during Napoleon and the French Revolution, right? When the Rothschilds took over England. I think that's when it all happened. Again, this is all, I'm just going off of little tiny bits and pieces of information that I'm remembering from various different sources over the years. So forgive me if I'm wrong or if this is just a sloppy, haphazard explanation of it. But Jefferson he had an acute knowledge of what had taken place, and so people like him were preventing it from happening in America. But as time goes on, as we get further and further away from him, people forget. People get dumbed down and forget history. And so I think Lincoln stopped it. I think, and if there might have been another attempt in the late 1800s that was stopped as well. But then, and we'll get into this when we start looking into the banking system. G. Edward Griffin is a great source on this. Ron Paul would be a good source on this. But in the early 1900s, you had, I think, trying to remember how it happened. Was it Woodrow Wilson, who was influenced by an occultist who was I can't remember if it was like his Secretary of State. It was in one of those earlier documentaries we watched. Colonel what was it? Mandelhouse or Colonel something like that. Something House. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a high level occultist and in direct communication with the president and strong political influence who pushed him towards this central banking system. And then there was even deception in that as well. And again, this we'll get in deep with this with the banking stuff. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but a lot of Congress was home in 1913 for Christmas vacation when they brought this bill to pass. So a lot of the Congress people weren't even there to examine the bill, and I don't understand how that works. I guess they only need a majority of whoever's present. If people aren't present, they don't get a vote or something. I don't know. But because there wasn't a lot of Congress people there, they pushed this bill through with minimal votes. You know, they had a majority of the people that were there, but it wasn't very many people there. And so they got this bill passed to transfer, because the Constitution gave our founding fathers knew the danger of central banking, and so they specified in the Constitution, Section 2, Article 8 or something like that, that Congress is the one with the authority to print money and to declare its value. It's Congress as representatives of the people. They know the wealth of the nation, the GDP. They know our gold standard, our agricultural products. Based on that, they determine how much money to print and how much value to set on it. And like again, I don't understand the whole economics of it. I don't know how that works. I've tried to look into it a few times. It's very confusing to me how money works. But in 1913, that power was stripped from Congress. So it's an unconstitutional act, but it was passed with this minority congressional representation. And the power was transferred to central banks. They established the Federal Reserve System, which was a scam that they purposefully misled people by naming it Federal Reserve System. As Dr. Kent Hovind always says, it's no more federal than Federal Express. It's not government. It's bankers, and they have a Class A stockholders, the majority stockholders, I believe, that are classified. We don't get to know who they are, and that's the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the New World Order, the Illuminati. They're the ones that took that power from the people, from Congress, and now they issue money, and they charge interest rates, and they use us as collateral and put us all in debt to them, transferring all of America's wealth to them, to this select group of Class A stockholders. And so when Trump speaks about ending the income tax, or when Ramaswamy talked about, and I think Elon Musk too, about ending the Federal Reserve, like, that's not going to happen. The New World Order is not going to give up their control base unless they just plan on blowing America up and ending it all, which is a very possible scenario. Like I've said numerous times, I believe that America was used as the muscle, as the momentum to build the New World Order system. America's military might and financial prosperity was used to spread democracy all over the world, which really all that means, spread democracy, is bring foreign countries under control of these central bankers to create the framework of the New World Order system, where all nations are subjected to these elites, these Class A stockholders, the ones that control the money. Everybody's indebted to them. All nations indebted to them, with the exception of like 3, I think. Back during the Bush era, it was 7. That's what the whole war on terrorism was about. The axis of evil. It was these 7 nations that weren't under the control of the New World Order system. They remained sovereign and separate with their own banking monetary systems. And I believe, that 4 of those have been wiped out, and brought under control of the New World Order system. We went and spread democracy. We freed them. Syria, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan. And then I think there's three others that are still holdouts. And I think I've mentioned before, I think it's Cuba, North Korea, and Iran, if I'm not mistaken. And just so happens to be that those are the ones that are declared enemies in the media all the time. The threats against America. Russia's kind of confusing too. I don't really know. Russia's part of the New World Order system. I don't know if they just have a freedom-loving president right now that's resisting it. They're kind of confusing how they fit into it. But anyways, my whole point was when you hear Trump say things like that, it's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. Even if they were able to start taking steps towards that, the New World Order will take drastic steps to put an end to that. Start World War III, pandemics, nuclear holocausts. It's my personal opinion that that's the major reason that they assassinated Kennedy. And again, the Kennedy assassination conspiracy is not something I've looked a whole lot into. I've just heard things in passing from people that I consider to be reliable sources. But he wanted to prevent the Vietnam War. He did not want America involved in that. And I don't understand. I suppose the New World Order needed control over there, so that had to happen. He wanted to end the CIA, which is kind of a subversive shadow enforcement arm of the New World Order. So they weren't going to allow that. And he wanted to end the Federal Reserve. And as a matter of fact, I just heard Alex talking a couple days ago on a show about how Kennedy had even started printing American money, like money distinct and separate from the Federal Reserve. Like you can find Kennedy notes, $20 bills that don't say Federal Reserve on them, that say like Department of Treasury or something like that. But we all know what happened in 1963. And so, it's just a pipe dream, and it won't be allowed to happen unless, like I say, it's part of their plan, and they really don't care because they plan on getting rid of America anyways. That was my point. I don't think I finished that point. America was used to create this New World Order system worldwide, to use our military might and enforcement and economic prosperity to bring everybody into subjection to the New World Order central banking system. Now that that's occurred, now that that's in place, America's not really needed anymore. Because now America is kind of problematic for the New World Order, because regardless of our corrupt government spreading democracy worldwide, there's a lot of people in America that still value national sovereignty and freedom, that still want independent speech and independent press and freedom of religion, things that don't fit into this New World Order scheme. And so America is kind of a problem. The system of America was a great resource and tool for the New World Order to use to propel the New World Order government, but the people undergirding it, because I believe of Judeo-Christian ethics and a desire for peace and prosperity and happiness and a love of freedom, that ideology is problematic to the New World Order, so something has to be done about that. And they try through propaganda and influence to keep... I mean, that's what the whole leftist movement was about, is to get rid of that nationalistic, freedom-loving Judeo-Christian ethic so that we all become, like the rest of the world, puppets to the New World Order system. Subservient, just, give us our rations, subservient worker class people in this pugilistic system that the New World Order wants. Freedom-loving people don't bow down to tyrants. Freedom-loving people aren't okay being peasants to lords and serfs. No, these would be the serfs. To lords and what's the word for, is it just ladies? Is it lords and ladies? Is that what they used to call them? The rich elite in the Renaissance time? Yeah, I think it's serfdom. That's the slaves, serfs. Um, and then the landowners were lords and ladies, I think. Anyways, it's neither here nor there. That's the type of system they want. They want this elite ruling class and then the poor slaves. Nothing in the middle. Like the Americana says you can climb your way up. So there's this whole middle class of people working their way up the ladder, and that threatens their control. They don't want to share their pie with anybody, and so they need to eliminate this entire middle class and just have servants, them and servants. And so that's when you look at anything, what do they call it? The dystopian movies or dystopian books. That's the picture they present because that's the end goal. A lot of those people that make those movies or books have knowledge of this, and so they present it in art form to show the world what it is. Whether they're for it or against it, whether they're trying to promote it or expose it. It's that's the society they're aiming for. Um, yeah, I don't know if I had an ultimate point there or not, but I guess it's just there's so much hype around what's happening in America right now with it just seems like there's a lot of momentum for that patriotic, freedom-loving movement. But I tend to think it's an illusion. I tend to think that it's the calm before the storm. I tend to think that it's just hype, pomp, and circumstance. That it's not substantive. It's not real. It's not lasting. And it's all going to come crumbling down in a drastic way. And I just feel like the New World Order is just kind of sitting back, acting like they're being defeated, but all the while smirking and just knowing that destruction is coming. But who knows? Like I said, maybe we get a reprieve. Maybe we get a little bit of time here. But like I say, when everything's done through executive orders, what's to stop the next president from just undoing everything? It just seems foolish to me. We need laws. We need and again, anything that's going to affect the power. The New World Order doesn't really care, about tariffs and those are such minor things. They control the system, so they really don't get. They're getting paid regardless. They're keeping power and control regardless. Things that affect their power, like stopping the third world influence, but even that is just a secondary issue. The income tax, the Federal Reserve, that's the big issue. That they won't allow unless they purposefully, allow it and intend to destroy America. Anyways, is there anything else going on in the world? No. It just seems like there's a lot of wins for the good side right now. It seems like there's a lot of momentum for that patriotic side, and I just feel like it's just setting everybody up, man. It's you have to remain vigilant, remain on guard, remain alert, and as Christians, God is sovereign. It doesn't really. It's nice when our economy is prosperous. It's nice when you don't have to worry about Venezuelan gang members destroying your town or harming your family. But ultimately, we trust God, and none of that really. Whatever the plan is, God's in control. So we don't have anything to fear. But, anyways, I guess that's what I got for an intro. If you're watching on YouTube, this is where the video is going to stop. They're just doing too much. As much as I try to avoid things that get taken down, they just keep taking stuff down. So my only recourse is to give you the intro and the link. And then if you want to watch the full video, click on that link down in the description, jump over to Rumble, and you'll be able to watch the whole thing. So without further ado, let's jump into it. New World Order, Blueprint of Madmen.